Thank you very much and welcome to the last segment with your host here, Maponga J, on your program Sankofa. We are discussing African issues, looking backwards and trying to look into the future we are anticipating. We have been blessed and honored beyond comparison to have in our midst this afternoon great King Bungane III, taking us through paces in the past of how marriages, intermarriages, ceremonies, rites of passages for young boys and girls. How does a young girl become umfa ekwazi, and ultimately becoming ugogo in the house where she becomes the mediator of the family. And for the last segment, I will do, you allow me, while I'm talking to you, I'll be scrolling here because you are our active audience, to be taking some few questions from you and ask the king here some things of the ancient times so that we can actually become more interactive. We don't want you to be hearing about this next week and then you want to ask today. It's happening like now. This is not a pre-recording. This is happening live. So if you got some questions that you want to ask the Honorable King here, please feel free to be sending them through and we can having a conversation. But I want to maybe just while we are waiting for them to pop in some questions, to reorient us, to reorient the young minds, the young women, the young boys who are sitting in towns, who are saying, maybe we hear you. This is how it used to happen in the past. How are we going to take all these things and maybe starting to find a way of implementing them in the present? In terms of where you are and where they are, I see a big schism, both of knowledge, information, and understanding. And maybe a young man out there, a young woman sitting out there is wondering, I have blundered, I have made children out of wedlock, I have made girls pregnant, I have slept with girls who are on their periods and etc. I've broken many of these rules. My stuff is just going horribly wrong. Where do I start? Maybe I'm just talking as a young boy, maybe a young woman, sitting on a couch, listening to you talking, and they realize in their own spirits, they realize in their own spaces that they've really got, because some of these things, by the way, when you start working with some of these indigenous healers, I pale into yakon, udu kalala, yenza lokho, udu yaphinda la, yenza lokho, udu yaphinda la, yenza lokho. And before you notice it, 6 months later, 1 year later, you are just doing ceremonies after ceremonies. And you can't, if someone can just ask, how do I put my life in order so that I can have a new blanket around me? And we need, as kings, to start coming up with one-stop shops to fix up the society. Right. Otherwise, we leave this thing in the hands of instincts, of those who call themselves indigenous healers, who have a list from here to Mpumalanga of things that you must do. From a river to a mountain to a bush, go behind the house, face north, face west. I pale into Akonankosi, and you understand where I'm coming from. So I want maybe to sit with a young man out there, sit with a young woman out there, who has maybe caused a mess in their lives. And if they can have an opportunity of hearing it from the king and say, this is what I think you must do. If you want to have a new and a fresh beginning. I'm asking a lot from you, but consolidate it for me, because I'm representing a whole millions of young people out there who are struggling.
I don't think it's too late. It is never too late. It is never too late, because what we need to do, it is what was supposed to have happened in 1994.
Particularly in South Africa.
In South Africa, yes. In other countries also, it is the governments of the day that took up the fight to fight for the restoration, the restorations of their cultures and traditions. Now the question that we should ask ourselves is, indeed, did they understood exactly what is that they were fighting for?
But
I'll make a practical example. We need to introduce an institution, and I'm challenging you. Let's create an institution that is going to be responsible for the indigenous knowledge. That institution should be the institution that also teaches these so-called traditional healers. Because remember, they are there in the name of our forefathers. When you look at them, when they do things wrong. You know, we had a discussion day before yesterday when traditional healers say people are Amandau are people from outside and they are in charge of your wealth. They are controlling your wealth. That is a wrong information. Because how can somebody who's an outsider be the one controlling? Yes. My understanding is Amandau are people bendao. Those who are
the owners of the place.
Yes. That is where we go wrong. Because you are talking to wrong people. You are always, that's why you hear ukuthi fane kube nendumba yomndawo egqekeni lakini, so that when you ask for progress in your life, you go to that indumba because umundawo indawo. Then comes the question again of misplacing things. Amandiki abantu abadingayo abandingayo are people who are not probably not from the Bunganis but from the Bengus who are looking for place for their prosperity and come to the Bunganis and say, we can assist to look after your cattle, we can assist looking at your crops and do what in your homestead. And then that person, you compensate when that person has done whatever. Uyadinga i-progress elifini yakhe. That's why then again we must understand another point we have left behind in the marriage. When that process, when that child is then taken out of the crawl to be handed over to the women, there is a certain traditional medicine esilibiza ukuthi igobongo. Igobongo lamakhehla. That traditional medicine is the medicine of the spirits that makes the two to come together. What they do, they take the gall and pour into that particular medicine to make sure that two of them drink. They start with the husband, they make him to drink, they give the woman, she drinks, then they pour it into a bath where the husband then becomes the first one to bath, and then the woman comes in. They are making them to connect. They are connecting the spirits together. Igobongo labo gogo nabomkhulu.
Igobongo.
Labo gogo nabomkhulu. So that's why now the divorce issue then does not come in, because the two have been put together as one. Because this young girl who has been brought in, she entered the space of the crawl, and then after this particular medicine, she was washed with this particular medicine, and therefore it is not your right to tell her to go out of this space.
Wow. The first question they have for you, Nkosiyami, first question they have, explain to us, but just be brief, Nkosiyam.
Right.
Explain to us sex is spiritual.
Remember, you are entering a sacred space. That is the vagina. And that space, remember, this is a child of the gods. A child can be born. Anything can happen there. Thus, it becomes a spiritual part where you go in with permission of the gods.
Wow.
That's why you seek permission to enter that space.
Wow.
It is not upon you, the two of you, but it is upon the gods to allow.
Wow.
Remember I said earlier on, the man before he sleeps with this particular woman, he then bends the impepa and then seeks
for permission. Wow.
To say, please, if I enter that space, please bless us with a child.
Nina bakholwa wasemakhaya mani thina imizimba yethu ngamathempele kaNkulunkulu kodwa niyafeba. You say your bodies are the temples of the Holy Ghost while you're busy singing and clapping in the church. But prostitution is your middle name. While you're conducting music at church, condoms are in your back pockets to invading other people's children and sacred spaces. And I think we need to start understanding the sacredness that is inculcated in our own cultural belief systems. That many of us think by becoming Christians we are becoming holy when we are the most wicked. Because we don't adhere to some of these principles that are right on the ground. So, second question, is there a problem when you have a marriage where you only have baby girls?
There's no problem. The reason, as I said, you go to the sacred place and ask for permission. They know why they give you those girls. They know why. You understand? They know why. Because you might not be the one that is responsible. Ukhulisa lo muzi. Maybe somebody in your family is the one that is chosen to be the one that continues with the same.
And they want to grow families somewhere else.
There's a reason why. Because before these children, before these children comes, they know exactly what is going to happen. That's why in the Bible it says, God says, I knew you before you were made. I knew you before.
Third question is women who don't get married. They find a woman, they just stay at home and they don't get married.
But if you go into the ancient times, that was not necessary.
Okay.
It happens today because the families might not understand the culture. It might find out also, in some instances, it will find it will be a curse upon laid into that family. And these are the curse that needs to be cleansed. Now you'd find out that it is a decision of the gods to say this child might not be married because of the things that happened between the family.
Well, this is quite interesting. You can find other cases that are sitting in the family. You also find that the wrong decisions that are being made. And as families, we never have to put our young couples under pressure in terms of you expecting a baby boy from a family, because you have gone to the place to seek for permission first before you can go and have conjugal rights. Whatever is going to come from there is what has been approved, and you need to accept that. So maybe I think that one is loud and clear in terms of the baby girls and the baby boys and etc. In modern days, reality, let's face reality, Nkosiyam, people are getting divorced, and that's a fact. 60% of all marriages are actually
because
ending up in
the foundation of that marriage was not right.
I agree with you on that. Yes. I want us maybe to have a conversation in the line of how do we look, how do we rectify it, but how do we look into this issue?
Remember, if the marriages of today are not marriages.
Explain to me.
What do I mean? Remember what I said earlier on. The marriages of today are only based at eceleni. We refer today as amalobolo. I don't know if you remember what I said.
Yes.
There is the first process where the family goes and say, we are going to ask for the hand in marriage. And by so doing, there is certain commitment that they put on the table. That does not mean that these are the dowry. Then there's a second phase of paying the dowry. And there's a third phase of killing that young girl. Now, if you ask a lot of marriage out of 100%, 99.1%, that process has never been followed. Most of the marriages that we refer as marriages today could be marriages that are a foundation of ugucela.
Let's call them contracts.
Absolutely.
But
because the families, they've never engaged into that spiritual level. Number two, you would find out that also that particular young woman, she still goes into this marriage with the same surname.
And the same name.
And the same name. That's why the two spirits would then conflict into the house.
Because you're still calling it
Absolutely.
By her name.
You are bringing that surname into another surname. The spirits, it will be the wars of the spirits.
Maybe let's extend this one. How about these women now with double barrels? The name this side and another surname. I saw another one with three.
Yeah. She revokes the spirits of them kisses. Because them kisses says, but we have paid the dowry. But why is she? Because wabulawa lo muntu. Oh, manje yini manje ebize phamsi into zakubo. Another thing, again, in marriages of today, uzokutshela unkosikazi ukuthi ngisaya kithi. Kuba kukuphi?
She says she wants to go back to her family.
Absolutely. No, because that day when that cow was slaughtered, she was killed. She now belongs to this particular. She does not. This is the only home that she knows. And when there's a death in that family, she just go like any person to go and assist. But she does not pronounce ukuthi kukithi. Another thing that I want to bring in these marriages of today, a woman has a child with Mkhize, and then she has another child with the Bengu. Maybe she have another child with the
Thompson.
Yes. Now, when that woman, she's married now by me, now is the fourth child now, or fifth child, whatever, the fourth child. Now, the family that side has a funeral on the other side. She has now to accompany one of the children of the Bengus
to go and bury the child.
What is it that they call that woman that side with?
Mufas. Yes.
Now you see they are revoking the spirit. That's why it's very important to keep that sacred place.
In some events, even when the husband dies, she's now married to you.
Yes.
You must now go and dress up in a funeral of an ex-husband.
Absolutely.
When you are sleeping with the living husband.
Yes, it's spiritually wrong. And also another thing that we must understand, when a woman has undergone these processes of marriage, if she decides to leave, you must know that woman, she still carries the surname of this side. Even if I die, and she continues, now remember, she goes and says, Angsazwani Nomkhize. She starts a family that side, she gets married to the other side. She's still married to La Mkhize. What happens is that even if Mkhize dies this side, Usasa umfazwanga.
You're still a wife this side.
Not Lasha Telecon. Because that wedding or that right of marriage on the other side, it's illegally. Traditionally. Now wenzani uqakekisa nalabantu laba bangale bakwaBhengu.
Confusing two things.
Absolutely. Now these children who are in this house become confused. They become the nyaupes now. They become the cursed children of this family. They start drinking, taking drugs, doing wrong things because you the
confusing
mother,
them.
You the mother, you have done wrong, or you the father have done wrong. Then they become the most cursed children of this family. Then you are surprised when while umntwana ngisukumela ngimela ngenyawo ngitshela where to get off, you forgotten your foundation was wrong.
It was wrong foundation. But yet, uyabuza omunye umuntu lapha ekhaya. Someone is asking from their home, from their comfort here. Can you just explain to us quickly what are in the space of spirituality, what happens to these constant miscarriages that happen to the modern women? What are the causes of miscarriages?
It could be a curse.
One.
It could be that family where she comes from. That's why it's very important earlier on when we started. Before you engage into a marriage on the other side, you must first check, go to the seers. They will tell you
where to go.
Now we enter a space where we don't even know that family is cursed. You go in, you find out the children, they become disabled, whatever. But also, you must also understand, when a child is born or it becomes a miscarriage, let me just talk about miscarriage. You must know that child grows up. You think siphumile isisu is the end of the road. It does not happen that way. That child grows into, that's why when a miscarriage or a miscarriage happened in your family, you must know, you as the parents, you must give that child a name and a surname, so that you then release that child and say, go and meet with your gods, with your ancestors. We are now releasing you to go. Now what do we do today? We have children who are miscarriage, they roam around the space, they don't have names, because on the other side, when they arrive at the gate, they check the computer. Who are you?
They never give me a name.
One side, then they deal with the second person. That's why it's very important, if you had a child who's a miscarriage, you give that child a name.
The cleansing.
And cleanse, you also cleanse, but you also cleanse that child and give the name to that child, so that you release her to go and meet with the ancestors of this family. But you also cleanse.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. People are very excited at home there, and they are giving me lots of and they're asking me the very critical question here again, and says, what about abortion?
Abortion is abomination. Because remember, you abort a child who is sent on earth, who is supposed to be maybe a spiritual leader. Because God, wherever he's seated, he knows that there is going to be
This is getting hot now in here.
It's going to be a child who's going to be responsible for 1, 2, 3. If you can borrow from the Christian Bible, what happened when Jesus Christ arrived on earth, you'd understand that there was a meeting in heaven where they decided to go to Mary and say, Mary, you are going to have a child. And this child is going to do 1, 2, 3.
The name will be.
Yes, then when you abort this child, what is going to happen to you?
You've killed destiny.
You have also destroyed your families to come. You then carry the curse of the lifetime.
In Shona, they say, Chirim saka saka chino zinzuira. Meaning he who is in the house can hear for themselves. Another proverb says, when a pig goes to sleep, it sleeps with its own mouth. And no one can eat for another pig that is sleeping. And I think today we are all pigs that are alive and we are eating for ourselves. And there's no better opportunity to be around. Someone is asking me a question here and they are saying, so umfazi engalo mbanongo, we can read this in Zulu for me here. Umfazi engalotsholwanga ngesintu mele achinche isibongo na asebenzise isendoda bangangangeni kulo mshado. So I think she's asking what do you do in this case?
No. That woman, she's not married
outright,
because remember the rite of passage that we talked about.
It's clear. It's clear. I understand.
You can't change a woman or children for that case. If I extend the question also, you have children out of marriage. You don't take the surname of that husband, that male, then you give your children. Are you not sending an abomination to these children?
How do they call on their ancestors?
Absolutely. Yes. So these are the mistakes that we do as parents, meaning as abazali.
Let's clean it up, Nkosiam. Yes, let's clean it up nicely, Nkosiam, so that it becomes clear. A woman gets pregnant, has children, and divorces the father for whatever reason, and then she marries another man. It's a typical scenario. One, she can tell the husband that I have children. Two, she can take these children and hide them to become the children of this man in the form of a pregnancy, for example, where she has been pregnant from one man and she ends up marrying another man and moves the blame from the one who is responsible.
And that's taboo.
To this new one, we're just discussing it as is. The man is told, voila, you are going to be a father. And we know in our African culture, when a woman says it's your child, who do you debate with?
Absolutely.
Unless you are lucky enough to have your ancestors telling you, hey,
not this one.
This is not ours. But in many cases where even ourselves are not connected, you have 3 and 1 man. A true story. One man is shouting one day, says, I don't know these kids that are full in this house. Five children. So there's these kids here. I don't know these kids. This one here. And this one here. I'm not very sure. These ones are mine. She is talking about the other 3. And these 2 I don't know. The woman says, hey, don't be too excited. Those 3 you are saying are yours.
Are not yours.
We have a guy next door. These 2 are only yours. We have issues in modern families where literally women, because of the amount of privacy God has given them, they are free to make choices. And some of those choices have only come out on blood transfusion. Now a child is in hospital, they need an organ. Absolutely. They need blood. They say, no problem. Call the cousins. Call the brothers. They try now, finally.
That does not matter.
Blood comes, boom. You are A, you are plus, you are B0, you are what. And now DNA comes, and no, this one is not even one of yours. And in this event of modern days, I want to maybe just address us, maybe as a senior, as a father amongst us, to say, as young ladies, when you find that situations have happened in this fashion, how do you do it? How do you advise a woman out there who has a child, who has a marriage, and her father does not know that this child that he's looking after is not his child?
To be honest, you need to be honest when you are dealing, because it is not you alone who is involved. it is the gods, it is the ancestors of this particular person that you are dealing with. One is that man that you are lying to. Two, it is this child that you are lying to. You are now taking somebody who belongs to the Bengus and say is a Bungani. And in that Bungani lineage, you are now bringing somebody who's wrong. Are you not now making sure that the spirits are going to be fighting against this family? That is what is going to happen. That's why from the inception, when I spoke about the marriage passages, you would understand in those days when women are being isolated, they're being taught, then the next door man will never come into the space of this particular woman. In these modern days, it is happening because we have lost our culture, we have lost our traditions, we have lost our customs. That's why we are a caste nation. Because what do? You end up sleeping. For an example, if I can just make a practical example to you. Do you know that Ikaba and Simango are the brothers? Do you know that Mhlanga and Ikaba and Simango are brothers? Do you know that Lemini and Mhlanga and Ikaba are brothers?
Wow.
With Mtimkulu. Now you sleep with this person.
Your own brother.
Your own brother.
Sister.
You see, now these are things that when I pronounce the caste nation, because what we need to do is to go back. Yes. Yes.
And in biology, then your recessive genes, disabilities multiply. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back right after the break here, and I'll be picking up 2-3 questions that I've already seen popping here. First question will be, what happens when you get married and your parents are not married? How do we deal with that, for example? And the question also of traditional marriages and etc. We'll be back right after the break with the king with us, King Bungane III.
The coronavirus outbreak.
Experience the extraordinary.
Tremendous waste and tremendous fraud. Mexico is, in fact, you will soon find out.
It is a day to celebrate.
We don't approve at all what's going on.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily unusual.
Challenge your ordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.
Welcome to the last segment here with our Honorable King Bungane III, and it has been a long marathon, almost like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We've been sitting here and talking, and it's like rubbing this skin. This is kumba. This is vutwe, rubbing this skin until it is soft. Because we're dealing with our own African, seemingly educated community that is in trouble with cultural issues. Because no matter how educated you are, you can drive the biggest car in the world and have 17, 18 credit cards in your account. But the issues we are talking about today, they will bring you back on your knees. Because these issues, as Africans, we understand that life is not just about being physical. Life is about being spiritual. The question is, how do we use our academic and knowledge systems to deal with these spiritual issues? And King is still with us to round up maybe the last few questions that we have from the audience here. What do we do with children who are born and they don't know their fathers? Someone is asking.
As I said earlier on, it is upon the parent, especially the mother, must know. Because for an example, if you engage spiritually what we would refer sexually, you sleep with different men. These are the repercussions of it. That's what you get. That's your results out of it. But if you knew that you slept with who, and then this particular person is the father of this child, you would know that bantwana bam, yes, they did not marry me, lapa wa mashele.
But you belong there.
But you belong there. Now, the ritual that is performed is as follows. You don't say these children, they are the Mashelis. They are not. These children, you take these children together with people who are responsible in your family to go as Dulini.
An anthill.
An anthill. You go to the anthill and you say to the anthill, you take certain things like milimili, you know, the sorghum beer. You go and speak to the anthill to say, we, the family of the Bengus, we have a problem of a child here in our family that was impregnated by the Mashelis. But the Mashelis did not come and pay the dowry in our family. And therefore, we know that this child is the Mashelis. But also the Mashelis, we are calling upon you in that end.
You're talking to the end here?
Yes. We are calling upon you. You know what is that you're supposed to do. Firstly, you have to pay the damage for this child. Two, you have to make sure that you pay dowry for this particular child so that this child becomes yours per law. But you know that we have not done that. To the Bengus, we are asking permission that something wrong has happened. We are asking for forgiveness.
You're telling the ends?
Yeah, you're talking to the,
I'm with you, I'm with you.
Yes.
You're talking to the ends.
Yes. Now, by so doing, you're speaking to your gods. You are saying, your child has been impregnated without the permission, without your permission. We are now asking you to say this child that is born out of wedlock. We are now asking you to give this child a surname, to be the surname, to use the surname until the Mashelis come
to claim.
Absolute to claim. For now, this is the child who would be under the Bengus.
You ask for permission.
Ask for the permission. Then you are then having a right after that, in a month or whatever months to come, to slaughter a goat, to pour the gall and put his pandla to say this is the child, because you wait for months for the Mashelis to come. If they don't come, yes, if they don't come, you then have a right, the Bengus, to pour and put the ispandla, to pour the gall and to put the ispandla. Then this child will then grow up under the Bengus
until the owners come.
Then the Bengus, if they come, they know what to do for a ritual to remove this child from the Bengus to the Mashelis. Yes.
Wow, that's quite interesting there. That's quite, I heard one Indian guy in Durban one time started selling his panja on the road, and no one was buying them.
No, they'll never buy them.
I don't understand this. These black people say, hey, it's not just selling them.
Absolutely.
You need to understand the ritual.
Absolutely. Because that child that child must be delivered to the ancestors of the Bengus. Then this child grows. If they don't show up the Mashelis, then he or she grows up under the surname of the Bengus.
Yes.
If this child, now the question that you asked me earlier on, if the parents is not married, then does this child bears the surname of the Bengus? Yes, if that particular ritual has been done. To that child.
Wow, that's quite interesting, and it's amazing that you actually go and speak to the ants, and the ant hill. And in my back of my mind, it's actually echoing to say, these same ants, when we are reporting to them that we are going to be keeping this child until the fathers come, maybe these are the same ants that end up eating your wealth on that side.
But absolutely, because now remember, as you pass through from this world, ascending to the other world.
The ends.
It's the ends who deal.
The ends who are
the
deal
ones
with you.
are the ones that you must report.
So ends are actually the medium.
Absolutely.
They are the real. They are the real undertakers.
You know, I'll tell you something. We, at the palace, one of our grandmother, Umabele Mate, once died. We were not even born. So I was dealing with the graves. Now my sister, the elder one, told me of the grave because when we resuscitated the other graves, we did not know about the Mabele Mate.
There was another grave there.
Yes. Then she said, "Why have you forgotten to deal with this one?" I said to my sister, "I did not know this one." Immediately when we were talking, the ends started coming out from the ground. Very intensive, heavy. Then she says, "You see, I told you." We then had to put that grave together.
Wow. That's interesting. Interesting. This is
so the ends, they play a pivotal role in our lives.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gets nicer, it gets warmer here. We've been to the crawl, we've been to the crawl, we've been to the river, we've been to the mountain, we've built houses here, roundavels, we have circumcised, we have done everything in terms of tooth picking and running up and down, in terms of building and putting the nice social construct for our African children as far as marriages, remarriages, which were not known of in an African space. But in the event that a brother dies, and just maybe take us some few secrets here. In the event that a man dies and he has no children, and you want to resurrect his home.
In two cases, when you are a male who is not married, when you die, remember, you do not have a home. You cannot be buried in the homestead.
Okay. So where do we bury you?
In the jungle. It's true.
If you die with no wife, we don't want your spirit here.
Because you will enter our children to be like you.
You want to become an end, and you might end up being a nuisance to our wives here also.
Absolutely.
In my tribe, in Shona, they literally take it's kokosombila. Then they bundle them together and they tie them on you when you are dying, so that becomes your wife.
That's true.
On the other side.
But now in this ancestors, please check on with the Nigerians also. They don't bury you in the homestead because you are like a bastard,
You're a bastard.
Absolutely. And then in most cases in our tradition also, what we do, we then marry for that particular person.
In your absentia.
Yes, we then resuscitate your home, your house.
Go find a wife for you. Yes. We ask one for the brothers here.
Yes.
We put them.
But it only happened to a person, maybe you died at the early age of marriage, then we can marry for you. But if you died in the later age, it means you are not a serious person.
You are not interested.
So you are not a good ancestor for this family.
We don't even resuscitate you.
Take you away.
Where there's potential, we resurrect you.
Absolutely.
Where there's negligence, we put you in the jungle, into the bush.
Because from day one to the last day, you were not useful to this family.
You were not useful to the family.
So you no longer belong to our family. You become a casted ancestor.
Wow.
We say in our tradition, in the evil jungle, that's where you must be buried.
With the animals there.
Yeah, because you are evil. You never thought of putting together a family.
Let's go to one other issue again, which someone is raising here, barrenness in African culture and tradition again.
You could find out, as I said, when a family, before you marry, you must check. If you have
been saying that for the longest time.
You must check.
And I hope our audience are hearing there.
You must check if there is no
history
in that family, there is no curse in that family. Because what you do, you are bringing that particular person this side. You don't know her forefathers, what is it they've done. Maybe yes, maybe they've been using these young children who are unborn for ritual, for them to become successful. Then you then enter into that space. God will then punish you also for not having kids. Then you become surprised why this woman, she does not get pregnant. Sometimes it is not that. Sometimes you must find out that there is this young girl at a tender age, she becomes pregnant out of wedlock. She's afraid to tell her family. She go and abort this child. You might find that then God decides to say,
close it
for
the future.
Then you come, you think this child has never been entered into that space.
She is
you want to marry,
high mileage.
Absolutely, high mileage. That's why one guy was saying, making a joke. I remember this guy, he says, parents, I pity them. Then I ask him, why do you say? He say, you come into a space where you want to marry a girl, then they tell you, this girl, she's a virgin, she's never been touched by a man, and they don't walk around with this young girl in the space of today. Then this girl, you might find out she's been engaged with a lot of young boys outside there. You come and then they charge you certain amount of money to say, you must know that this child has never been touched, this is a virgin. And that's not true. And number two, they don't even know that maybe at some stage this young girl has aborted. They don't know these things. Then then you enter into that space. Then you find out that you also take that snyama, that darkness into your
family. Wow, that's quite interesting. Another question that could be roaming out there is the issue of these spiritual husbands, which we hear is quite frequently happening these days, where some spirits are working on our women, some spirits are working on our men at night. And what kind of things are happening? Because all of it has to do with homes and families, absolutely. The sexuality of spirituality.
Absolutely. That's another thing again that a lot of people, you might find out your forefathers have been engaged into these spirits. Some people use dead people for their success. And you might find out that those dead people, they envy sleeping with women or they envy engaging with men. Maybe that man is no longer around and they are roaming around in your homestead, then they end up sleeping with you. Some again, it is because people go into the inyangas, witch doctors, and they take these spirits into their homes. These spirits, what do? They come and sleep. Some come in the form of tokoloshi, what would name as tokoloshi. This tokoloshi would want to be enticed by a man, or another one is a tokoloshi woman, the tokoloshi man sleeps around with the children here. And you might find out that the children, they become what they called izitagwa, they become drunkards in their family, they become all those things. It differs in some people, you find out there is a witch doctor in your environment, and he or she has these togoloshis or these spirits
that service the community.
They service the community,
and they run around in the community.
Yeah, they sleep around with the women and they sleep around with men. You might find out in that community, the more they sleep is the more these witch become successful. It differs in categories, and that's why it is very important in your environment. Tina City Namhlanje, that family by a lawyer, when they use certain traditional medicine to protect their home, for these evil spirits not to enter into their environment, you understand? Now remember, these trees that we regard today as medicine, these are trees that have been planted by God, but there are these witches who use it for their own purpose, for them to be successful.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And we again, I like what you're saying, because in as much as you may think that we are digressing away from the subject, it comes back to the key that if you are supposed to get married, if you are supposed to get yourself involved with one family, it is important to know the quality of the family you are moving into, research into the history of that family, and allow yourself, don't trust your judgment, young boy, young girl. Don't trust your judgment. Your parents know more. You cannot just go to University of Vets You go to University of Cape Town, you meet some boy there because he got a six-pack. She's got a good hairstyle and a hairpiece. And you think you found yourself a good husband, you found yourself a good wife. It is not just about you being dazzled by beauty. You need to do your research. You may end up just sleeping with a witch. You may end up sleeping with a murderer. You may end up giving birth to criminals because the genes and the history where these people are coming from, it is not as simple as a good hairstyle and a matching pair of techies that they're putting on their legs. Life is more complicated, my young people, in the 21st century. And the quicker we wake up to discover some of these solutions are coming from the past that we are running away from. I will not find a better way of concluding this conversation but to share with you a beautiful parable. After I share the parable with you, we'll allow the king to give us the closing remarks, and then after him, I will not be able to say anything. I think that's just royal protocol. So there's a bus that leaves from South Africa, from Cape Town. It is full of passengers. Some are drinking, some are smoking, some are puking. It's coming up from Cape Town, heading into Cairo. Then it gets to Bloemfontein. Other passengers come out. New passengers come in. And these ones are swearing and cursing. It's a party. You can see the fingerprints on the windows. It's smelling like the backyard of a toilet. It comes to Johannesburg, offloads other passengers. New ones come in. Those ones sitting at the back bayakoloza vele bathi ngeye to le bus asindawo, we are here to stay. It's just a drive in and drive out. Passes through Lusaka, passes through Rwanda, Brazzaville. Just before it reaches Cairo, 10 kilometers away from Cairo, one passenger walks in to the bus and he is told, you. And all these passengers that have been in the bus, Nkosiam, have been sitting in the bus, puking and drinking and vomiting for free. The last passenger, 10 kilometers left, is now told, you are going to pay the full bus fare from Cape to Cairo. Question: why must we pay Lobola for a bus that has been busy from Cape to Cairo? And Wes, why must you as a family ask the last passenger? I'm building on your words, Nkosiam. I'm building on your parable. Why must families be asking for full bus fare for a bus that they know has been carrying all sorts of passengers who have done as they please? Everyone has eaten for free except the last passenger. This is not only for the women, this also goes for the young boys that are out there. This bus of yours has been misused. You can't tell whether this is a banana or this is juice. We can't tell because it has overworked. A young boy by the age of 20 to 23 has been treated for syphilis, gonorrhea, and is already having problems of prostate cancer. At 22 years old. And yet we want to marry these kids and say we are building new homes for them. And sometimes as parents, I want us just become candid because when any closing remarks, talk to the nation. How do we best begin to develop building up families and building up children? As far as I'm concerned, the last person to get on the bus must worry about cleaning the bus, sanitizing the bus. And sometimes we told these passengers at the back, they refuse to leave the bus. But how's your pitching? You find that you have your wife, you have your boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, and the old customers who have been here refuse to go because they've been showing this thing mahala. And you as a present husband now must be struggling, you as a present wife must be struggling to deal with these passengers. They puking this thing over something. And I think what the lesson we're trying to learn from here, how do we maintain our buses? How do we clean these transports? So that the last passengers, for me it's respect. If you know that this thing is going to end up in the hands of someone, how beautiful must you preserve yourself so that the right passenger will come into the right bus, find in the right condition, and have their pleasure also. Give the poor person a chance to enjoy beautiful transport to the future that you and him want to build together. Bayet, Pungan.
My uncle says, if you are going to be engaging into marriage, a woman that knows other men, the first thing that is going to happen after you have married, if there is a misunderstanding in the house, the first thing she's going to remember is that person who broke
her virginity. Come on now.
She'll run to that man. Magati nyagiti. She will then be in contact with that person. Because a woman, when there's a problem, she must go where? She belongs here, remember? Because this person from day one, she does not know another man except you. And she was taught never to run away, to become a coward, but to be there to deal with the issues.
And die there, umfazi.
Ufazi. Two, I want to ask the people of the continent, Abantu, Ntu, to go back to the origins. Let's do the things in the way we used to do them in the past. Let us not go around marrying without understanding the rites of passage of marriage. Because these are the things that are causing us today. Today, you find out that you have married, be it from the side of the woman and the husband, you or the male, you understand that you have found yourself in a cursed environment. But if your family was able to have checked before they make you to enter into that space, they could have understood. My mother used to say, you go to 3 different seers. When this seer tells you this, you say, okay. You go to another independent one. Then if this story is similar to this, then you look for the last solution. Then when that solution, you are able to say, these 3 seers, they don't know each other, and they told me the same thing. It means I have not, I do not have a permission to enter into that space. Or I have to enter into that space. Now the problem that we found ourselves today, men, we are greedy. Selfish. Because you see the curves, you don't want these curves to pass you. Because your parents tells you it is not the right place for you to play around. You say, I know, I bahlanya baba. Mina ngiyangena ngiyamshada lo muntu, ngiyamthanda lo muntu. Little do you realize that you are entering into a space where your generations to generations is going to be cast. Same applies to the side of the woman. You see this man, no, unemali ngiyamthanda, unemali. He has money, I love him. You don't love him.
You love the money?
The money. And this person, you don't even know how he accumulated this money. Because you want to live a comfort life that has blood in their hands. So I am calling upon you. Do the right thing. We spoke about this thing, how we started. Please, if you adhere to that, then you'll have a better family for generations to come.
Well, you heard it for yourselves from the words of the king, and he left me 2 minutes outside. I thought he would close the show for me, but I have 2 minutes on top of the program just to close it for you. But the king has spoken extensively. Let's go back where we are coming from. Let's find up our roots. Let's connect with our past. Let's do things the right way. Don't get obsessed with the technology. Spirituality is not technical. It is as simple and must be followed as such. Your program is Sankofa. Your host is Maponga J. Ndini Maponga J Shu, mwana wa mchena, mwana wa Maponga Marara. Wana zbou, wana nduma, wana chapinduka. tisu zvibwe zvitedza zvinokwigwa nevana manga vari pedo vanotamba nazvo vana chigara mabwe matanda anovora tisu vana mushamba negori vana mahomhom ponango kubachiramba kusesera vane mazha kumagaro chirera navana vevanji winamiti yasvosve. Until we see you again on top of the program, have yourself a wonderful afternoon. Don't do what I wouldn't do. If you do it better. But yet,
The coronavirus outbreak.
Experience the extraordinary.
Tremendous waste and tremendous fraud. Mexico is, in fact, you will soon find out.
It is a day to celebrate.
We don't approve at all what's going on.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily unusual.
Challenge your ordinary.
Not only the government, the municipality here has had no plan.
Experience the extraordinary with StarSat.
Hello. Being a legal practitioner in South Africa in these challenging times demands lawyers that will help clients beyond legal issues. The ever-changing demands in commerce and tourism require lawyers who have sound and clear business and commercial knowledge, and that's where MB Chabangu Incorporated comes in. Our business, mining, tourism, health, labor, and economic knowledge encapsulated with law and litigation experience gives us an advantage in the legal sphere. Our experience in assisting businesses, government, and various industries with their needs puts us amongst the many progressive and striving law firms in South Africa. Now, to contact our attorneys for assistance with any of the mentioned fields and others, please call us on 012-341-4187 or send us an email on admin@chabangu.co.za. MB Chabangu Incorporated, where problems meet solutions.